Okay, well, let's kick off this, well, I was going to say sunny September meeting, but I can't say that today. So we will go ahead and begin. My name is Helen Bosman. I'm the Association Executive here at OKCMAR, and I'm here with our OKCMAR President, JT Brown. All right. So we are going to move briskly through our program so we can get you to the speaker, Katie Delosto, because she's got a great presentation for you today. So welcome to our virtual membership lunch and our big reveal of board members. And sorry, my machine just went a bit peculiar, so I'm hoping you're still with me. We know everything is a little bit different this year, to say the least, and we're thanking you for your patience and understanding as we get creative to make sure we can get everything done according to the bylaws in the same kind of time frame as we usually would. So we are doing this virtually, obviously, but we voted 100% virtually this year, and we had record voting numbers. So thank you for getting on and for voting. And we will be announcing those in just a moment. Just to let you know, our speaker today is Katie Delosto, as I said, and she's going to be talking about champagne emergency and how to celebrate small wins and achieve big results. So if you just saw champagne and registered because of that, that's absolutely fine, but you may be learning something good as well out of this. So we will be announcing the board members. We're going to be announcing 2 new board members for OKCMAR and 2 new for the MLS OK board for next year. These numbers may increase after the board officer elections, which will be next week for MLS OK and October the 8th for OKCMAR. And I know this sounds a bit weird, and it is, it's like advanced math trying to figure all this out. But basically we have guaranteed 2 seats each for each board right now. Depending on which current board members remain on as officers will depend on how many other seats we have. So if you are a board slate nominee this year and we don't call your name today, I don't want you to cry too hard, because there's a possibility that we're going to be reaching out to you in the next couple of weeks because you are the next on our list. So please bear with us. We're probably going to be looking for a couple of extra people. So just hold on. So I am going to turn it over to JT, and he is going to open the meeting and get announcing. So thank you, JT.
Thank you, Helen. It's good to be here today. And it's not crisp, it's soggy outside, but
yeah.
So we got some nice cool weather and that I hope you all are enjoying. It's been an interesting year. We talked about 2020 vision back last December, and that was really our theme for this year on things that were going to happen and changes. And boy, did we get that wrong. 2020 pandemic changed the whole way that we do things. But in spite of that, I want to talk about how we reacted as a board and how we reacted as an association. And I'm really proud of the accomplishments that we've made. I think one of the premier accomplishments that we did, and I'm happy to say it was a unanimous decision by the board, and that was to support the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma with a $20,000 cash donation for the food bank. The Regional Food Bank actually serves 27 counties in the state of Oklahoma, which is pretty much all the counties that we serve through our MLS as well. I challenged MLS and some other organizations to meet or beat that response. And I'm happy to say that OKCMAR MLS did come through with an additional $20,000. Now, the great thing about that $40,000 donation is that the Regional Food Bank had a private matching donor. And so we were privately matched to make that total of an $80,000 donation. And folks, we fed a lot of people during that tough time. The other thing that I'm really proud of is how we reacted at really no notice to things that we had no control over. We got quarantined, and so we reacted as we should have by closing the office doors to the public, but keeping the office doors virtually open to our membership. And it was a really smart accomplishment because we did twofold. We protected our association employees, which we needed to, and we also it gave us an opportunity to become smarter in the way that we did business. One of the greatest accomplishments that I think we made, and the association made, was to go online with our membership. And a lot of people know that it was a little cumbersome before with having to fill out the applications and come down to the association and do this. Good news, we can do it all online now. And so that's a huge accomplishment. And I'm really proud that we've made it to this stage. And that's going to set us up for a bigger stage in the future. The other thing that we did that I think is our shining glory for this year is that we went virtual with education. Now we had to. We didn't have a place that we could hold people at a safe distance. And plus there was a moratorium on how many people could be in a room at that time. But we went virtual with it, and guys, they really stepped up with the virtual. What we did is we saved a lot of money by not traveling and by doing some of the things that we would have done otherwise, just as normal procedures. And so we would increase our education budget, and we did that substantially, offered more classes. And then the great thing that we did also in our education was to add designation courses at no additional charge. So we had that. We had an extended menu of courses that people could take. So we really were, and we had a huge positive response to this. We had waiting lists for the next designation class, and we were able to add another one, and we plan on continuing that. And then the other thing is we love our membership luncheons, and I'm glad for everybody that showed up today, but we love our membership luncheons. And so with some of the money that we saved, we were able to bring in a national quality speaker to our luncheons at no additional charge. So you guys, it's been a tough year. I'm proud of everything that you guys have done. I'm proud of what our association has done. And I really appreciate our committees and our groups have had to change the way they do things because of our restrictions. But we've had some great response from RISE, the YPN group. We've had great response from our RPAC program that we're running. We're just doing a really good job in spite of all the obstacles that continues to get thrown at us. And so with all that being said, I'm going to now officially call this meeting to order. This is our annual membership meeting. It is now called to order. What I would like to do at this time is announce the 2 OKCMAR board members that will be joining our board in January of 2021. From Keller Williams in Yukon, Mrs. Casey Kinney is our first choice, and a person who was scheduled to go off the board this year has reapplied, and that's Steve Reese, and he is with Next Home. And so I'm very happy to congratulate both Casey and Steve in joining our board.
Okay.
Do you have anything for MLS? Is Jeff on?
Well, we will close this out and then we'll bring Monty in.
Perfect.
But,
so I will now
congratulations.
close this meeting, and thank you very much for attending.
Good deal. Well, as JT mentioned, you guys, thank you so much for attending today. It definitely shows your commitment to what we're trying to do, and it's extremely important. And Miss Katie, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're really looking forward to what you have for us. So Jeff could not be here with us today, so it's kind of been the Jeff and Monty show for the last couple of years, and so we'll just kind of continue that. I'm very proud to have been asked to serve as your MLS president for next year. I'd like to kind of go over some things and some accomplishments that we've had for this year. One of those is Matrix X will be launching on September the 10th. And you guys are like, well, what is Matrix X? It just so happens that we have a virtual conference going on both today and tomorrow, and one of the classes is for Matrix X. We recently launched MLS 360. It's just another enhancement to the Matrix foundation or the Matrix tool that we use. There's some really cool bells and whistles in that, and hopefully that will help you do your business and enhance your online opportunities that you have within Matrix. So really looking forward to that. We have, because of the pandemic and because it probably needed to be done anyway, we have moved all application paperwork online. So that should be easier for you guys. Very excited to announce that membership is still increasing. And so we're definitely growing, and that's always important. We also this year launched MLS Touch. MLS Touch replaced the Go MLS OK app, and is a very, very cool feature. So, and people are like, well, why are we still doing Home Snap and MLS Touch? They each have their own unique abilities, and it's a core offering that we're giving to you guys at no additional cost. So please, please, please take advantage of that and make sure that you're using it. It's a really, really, really neat tool. So. Also, there's with the virtual conference, there's a whole hour designated to MLS Touch, and I encourage you guys to participate in that. The staff has been working on MLS OK infographics to better explain processes, and those can be found online. And a new infographic with all of the core offerings right here. And guys, we offer a ton of stuff. I would challenge anyone. There's been some talk on the infamous Facebook group page. I challenge anyone to go out and research other providers and put what we offer, and it's hands down better than most. So, and just because we offer it, we can't force you to use it, but we definitely encourage you to use it, and that's the kind of the precipice for the virtual conference, just to make sure that we're putting everything out there to you guys that we possibly can, and encouraging you guys to use the tools and try to help make better agents and help everyone be more productive, and of course that turns into dollar signs for everyone. So I have rambled quite a bit, and I'm sorry for that. You guys are used to that, but at this time we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and I will announce the as Helen mentioned, we have 2 seats that we're going to fill right now. There could very well be the opportunity to add some. So, but the first seat that will be added this year is Vanessa Johnson with eXp Realty. So welcome aboard. That's a big smile. That's good. The second seat will be Beth Atkinson, and she's with Metro Group Brokers. And we definitely welcome those 2 ladies. And the MLS board is very unique. And I look forward to having you ladies. And like I said, there definitely could be some additions to that. So kind of stay tuned. And Helen, I think that's it, unless I missed something.
No, but we would like to say thanks for your video with your donkey, Monty, because we had more people pay before the late fee was due than we have in the last few billings. So we may be hiring your donkey for marketing purposes.
There you go. He's very expensive. So just real quickly, some things that I want to try to accomplish this year. JT touched on the education piece. Guys, we need to focus, and if anyone's seen a contract lately, and I'm not trying to hammer on anybody, but we need to get back into the training mode and the education mode for our agents. I think it's critically important. We need to be professionals in what we do, and to be professionals, we need to be educated. And so that's going to be one of my main focuses. You'll likely see some more funny videos from my friend Shorty, but I want to encourage everyone. I want to bring value and show the value that MLS OK provides to our agents, and that's what I'm all about. So I have a saying that I learned a long time ago that I try to live by every day. So it's in the absence of value, it's always about the money. And so I want to make sure that you guys are realizing the value that MLS OK provides to you. And we want it to be the best service provider that's out there. We want to make you happy and do the best job that we can. So thank you for allowing me to talk your ear off, and hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Well, thank you, Monty. And you know what? JT has a lot of animals too. So I don't know if this is a prerequisite for being an officer on our board, but I think it certainly helps.
Well, you
Yeah,
had your
we're all-
peacocks as
Yeah,
well.
we're all animal people. So, but thank you. And yes, if you were on the slate for either board and you did not hear your name called, just bear with us because you may hear it in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you for everyone for voting virtually. It went great this year, and we really appreciate everyone bearing with us. So thank you to Monty and JT. And moving forward, we will now bring Katie Delasto in to speak. We'll take her off mute. There we go. Katie does have a book that's been published, and we have, thank you. We have 6 of them on the way to OKCMAR right now, and we would like to give them to the first, well, I won't say the first, but to 6 lucky people. So if you would like a copy of Katie's book, then please email events@okcmar.org and just say, put me in the draw, or I want a book, or anything like that, and we will pull you out of a hat in a day or 2. So get it in today, and we'll pull you out, and we will announce the lucky winners. So Katie, welcome. So Katie, you're in the Bay Area of California, I think.
I am. Yes, looking out the window with all the smoke in the air, it looks like the zombie apocalypse. So I was actually saying that before you guys got on, I said that what JT and Helen have in their background is very similar to what the sky looks like, but it's not raining. So it's just very kind of dark and creepy. So I'm pretty sure the zombie apocalypse is coming any minute, but that would be par for the course for 2020. So we're just going to roll with it. So, and see what happens next. So, but thank you guys so much for having me here today. I'm very excited to be a part of this. It's been really fun being a virtual speaker over the last 6 months, as I've gotten to meet and present and interact with people all over the country. I've been on a couple of national speaking presentations, and it's been really great to be able to do it and to be able to connect with people that I might not normally do, because it's the travel and things like that. So it's been really great. So I really appreciate you guys taking time today, and hope you find it valuable. Can I go ahead and share my screen, Helen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, perfect. So let me get that. And Helen, what I'd like, if possible, if you could watch the chat box for me, and then that way you can just go ahead and feel free to interrupt me. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box, and then Helen if you can just kind of monitor the chat box to see as questions are coming in. Please interrupt me. As much as I do like the sound of my own voice, it gets boring after a while. So I would appreciate it if you guys are able to just interrupt me with some conversation. I think that would be great.
I know, Katie, this is a big responsibility.
I know. I know. I'm asking a lot in these times, so I get it.
Okay, we haven't had the question yet, but before we do, we're only giving away books. We're not giving away champagne.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I wanted to, let's see if it's, there we go. Wanted to talk a little bit about who I am. My nickname is Coach Katie. That's actually my email, is katie@coachkatie.com. And the Coach Katie started actually a couple things. It started when I was running real estate offices. I've managed real estate offices for a couple of different brands. I've been and when I was running the real estate office, people were saying I was coaching them, being a business coach, sales coach, leadership coach. And at the same time, I was coaching my son's Little League baseball team. And so Coach Katie just kind of stuck. And so I'm still Coach Katie out there in the marketplace, and just kind of got it as a domain name. And then we went from there. As Helen mentioned, I have written a book called Fortune Cookie Leadership. A little story about the book. My mom passed away about 22 years ago, and she was the queen of the one-liners. I don't know if you guys have family members that are the king or queen of the one-liners. They're always like, I like that Monty had his saying, in the absence of value, it's about the money. Monty, that possibly could go into my next book. These are kinds of things that people have sayings. And my mom had a ton of them. So my sister and I just started to make a list, and I wrote out these little fortune cookie, little one-liner bits of wisdom. I also was thinking of this when I was running real estate offices. I would do weekly sales meetings, and it was always a struggle to try to find some sort of rallying cry, some sort of motivational thing that we're going to focus on for the week. And if you ever Google motivational quotes, you'll drown, right? It's like looking for a hammer at Home Depot, right? It gets too much. So I was like, okay, I wish I had something I could just kind of grab and look at and use. So it's essentially why I wrote this book. The book is 52 one-liners. And it's a story of how the one-liner originated, and then sort of the lesson for your business or for your life. I think one of the great compliments I've gotten is I have sales leaders that are using it on their weekly sales calls. I have families that are reading it, because a lot of this wisdom from my mom still continues to impact other people. And so it's been really, really a blessing to do it. I wrote it partly as the book I wish I had had when I was running a real estate office, but also I wrote it in memory of my mom. And I'm just really glad that my mom's memory still continues. So hopefully you'll get something out of it. It's not a book you got to read cover to cover. You can flip through. If there's one particular, one-liner, or my daughter calls it a fortune cookie. So that's how the name was brought to life. My daughter said I parent like a fortune cookie, right? I use these one-liners as I parent. And so that's where it came from with fortune cookie leadership. I've trained about 30,000 salespeople in the last 10 years. That's real estate, that's mortgage people, that's title and escrow, home warranty people. Done that, love to present and train people of all different kinds of walks of life. I've actually done things outside the real estate industry as well. I was an NAR speaker last year. As I mentioned, I coached my son's Little League team, so I'm a baseball fan. And I'm an Irish Italian mom. I have an Irish first name and an Italian last name. Some people say I just like a loud fight. That's really what that is. It means I'm passionate and I'm gonna talk with my hands. So, it's always gotta be a little excited about that. So it's just a little bit about me. Let's see if I can get this. Is it going? There we go. Part of what I wanted to talk about today is around this quote of Leonardo da Vinci. I'm a big Da Vinci fan. And I think one of the things we can learn from Da Vinci is around his natural curiosity and to ask questions and to really understand. And I think there is that joy of understanding, of having a perspective about things when you're working with a buyer or a seller or a family member that's frustrated and what's happening. And it's like, okay, hold on, help me understand what's going on. Help me understand what's happening. And then once you understand, it's like, oh, okay, now we can get to that solution. And so I think that's really what I like to do for all of my presentations, is really work on some things around understanding. And I said, I'm half Italian. So my consulting company is called Capiche, and you have to do the hand gesture when you got to say capiche with the hand gesture. And so Capiche Consulting, because capiche means do you understand? So all of my presentations have a component of making sure that there's understanding around what we're doing, how we can help people, and how we can maybe communicate better with each other moving forward. All right. So I'm going to touch on a few of the chapters in my book, Fortune Cookie Leadership, under this theme of a champagne emergency. For those of you that are detail oriented, and we're going to talk a little bit about disc profiles as sort of the last piece of this. I know this is freaking you out that the numbers are out of order. So those of you that are like not, not OCD or DCO or CDO to make them alphabetical. So I understand, it's okay. We're just going to have to live with ourselves, but just sort of worked with the way that the structure of the presentation a little bit. So we're just going to go through that. All right. So we're going to talk about champagne emergency. Here's what a champagne emergency is. And I brought my bottle of, it was actually Prosecco, but we won't tell. So there's really a story about this. When I went to a sales conference many years ago, and there was a speaker that spoke about talking about when he and his wife would see champagne on sale, they would buy it. So if they see a case of champagne on sale, they're like, oh, you know what? you want to have a bottle of champagne chilling in case there's a champagne emergency. So they would buy these, have champagne available and have it kind of readily available. And my dad often says that about having a bottle of champagne chilling in case there's an emergency. Because it's not like somebody comes over and like, hey, I got a new job. And you're like, hold that thought. Let me run to the store. I'll be right back, right? It's nice to have a bottle of champagne chilling because you don't know when you want to be celebrating something. But this family, this couple that would kept buying champagne, all of a sudden they realized they had multiple cases of champagne that they had on hand. Like, okay, this is crazy. We gotta start drinking it because champagne doesn't sit very long. And so they started bringing it as gifts, but then they're like, okay, we just need to celebrate more. So they started looking for opportunities to celebrate. Hey, Johnny got an A on his test. All right, pop the champagne. Hey, we had closed the sale. Hooray, pop the champagne. But the idea is that we always find what we're looking for. And if you have champagne on hand, and it doesn't have to be champagne, it can really be anything that you have to celebrate. And I think one of the things around this time, all these things that are happening is creating opportunities for joy, right? When we have, the quarantine and the pandemic and social issues, and we've just got so many of the things going on in our world that are adding this layer of stress. I really feel that over the last 6 months, there's really been sort of this just layer of additional stress and anxiety. For those of you that are also homeschooling your kids, God bless you. My kids are 22, 19, and 17. And I told my kids that if they were 10 years younger, they would have just graduated by now, because I don't think I could do what some of your parents are doing. And you're stepping up in such a big way that there's a whole different layer of stress happening in your homes right now. So finding opportunities for joy, finding opportunities to celebrate every single day are important. And especially when you're balancing your family life, your work life, your clients, it's a pull and it's a drain. And so if the only time you ever celebrate is when you close a transaction, when you get a commission check, that's not very many times in a month. So you want to find those things every single day where you can celebrate and find out what those things are for you. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things and what they could be. But maybe, you can look at these different kinds of things and reasons to celebrate. So maybe you had a day, my sister has younger kids and she's doing the Zoom classroom. And it's like, she called me and said, we had a great day. We had no Zoom issues the whole day, right? It didn't matter if the kid understood their work or not, but it was like, yay, let's celebrate. And whatever that way of celebrating is, and it doesn't have to be champagne. It doesn't have to be even, hey, I'm going to bake a cake or whatever. But just taking that moment, maybe you're going to, go for a walk. Maybe you're going to do an online yoga class and have some quiet time for yourself. Maybe you're going to watch your favorite TV show and take 30 minutes or an hour and go, yay, I'm celebrating. And I get to sit and just do nothing and watch my favorite TV show. Maybe you are going to make a special meal, but just finding those things that are reasons to celebrate. Hey, today I made a commitment to myself and I exercised for 30 minutes and I'm progressing on exercising and making sure I'm taking care of myself. Maybe today I made a goal of doing 10 calls, 10 dials. Maybe you left 10 voicemail messages. Maybe you didn't actually even talk to anybody, but you called 10 people in your database just to check in. Hey, how's it going? Was thinking of you. Would love just to connect. Give me a call back. Simple, but you did it. And especially as you're managing all these other things happening in your life, having those little goals for yourself are reasons to celebrate when you achieve them. And I think also, hey, you scheduled an appointment, you held an appointment. Don't worry so much about the outcome. There's a whole philosophy about don't get attached to the outcome, get attached to the activities. And figuring out if every single day I exercise, we have Zoom success, I make 10 calls and I schedule one appointment, that's a good day. Now, 3 out of 4 of those could be a good day. So that's what you've got to decide for yourself and how you're going to celebrate and what you're going to, and maybe my niece does dance parties. She's 10 years old and she likes to do dance parties with her friends on Zoom, and they play music and they dance around, and that's how they partly they blow off steam, but it's also kind of how they celebrate their successes. They have dance parties. And so there's different ways that you can celebrate and you can have some fun. So Helen, do we have any questions coming in? You're on mute, Ellen.
Uh-oh. I should celebrate the fact I know how to switch off from mute.
Yay!
I was just about to ask Courtney if my chat was working because I'm like, no one's talking. But we did just have one come in. And one of our OKCMAR board members, Lydia, because I asked them if they had anything that they'd celebrated this week. And Lydia said that her brother-in-law got married on Sunday and her husband gave the greatest best man speech ever.
Oh,
Plus, she had 2 closings on Friday.
nice.
So well done there, Lydia. And a little bit of a backstory to that, when I was talking to Lydia last week, this was not the wedding that her brother had planned. So her brother-in-law, sorry. So they kind of, you know, they were going to do more, but of course, COVID kind of got in the way with that. So they really made something else work instead. And I think that's a celebration too, you know, not to get caught up in that disappointment, but just to keep on rolling. So that is great to hear. So, okay, my chat's working. So chat me things, people.
Okay. Yeah, I would love some interaction, guys. It's fun to talk about some of these things and ask me questions and things like this. But figure out, and maybe if that's something you guys want to put in the chat as well for the group, or like, what are the things that if you do them every day or 5 days a week that you would celebrate them, like whether it's personal or professional.
And Susanna, who's one of our OKCMAR board past presidents, said she celebrated Labor Day by actually taking a day off. So way to go, Susanna. And she had a friend over for a wiener roast in the backyard fire pit. That sounds great. Yeah. What did you do, JT? What have you had to celebrate this last week?
I finished all my landscaping just in time for fall. I can enjoy it for a week.
That's right. Well, it's going to be nice again by the weekend. Yeah.
Well, these are the kinds of things that you can celebrate. And I think, you know, we started talking about the perfect day, right? So setting out those things, whatever those things are. So I actually wrote an article on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share it with you, Courtney, if you want to get it out to everybody. But when we first had shelter in place here in Northern California, it was March 16th. And on the 17th of March, I was still in my pajamas at 11:15 in the morning, and I thought this is probably not the most and highest use of my effectiveness and efficiencies. So I realized that I do need a schedule. I need something to help me stay on track, because left to my own devices, I'm going to watch way too many Law and Order reruns. And so I better do something. So I created a perfect day while we shelter in place. And what does that look like? And obviously that's different for everyone. So I'm happy to send it out to Courtney if you want to get it out to everyone of what I wrote out. Again, I'm not homeschooling kids. So if you're doing that, you're going to want to make some edits to that. But I felt it was important to say, hey, this is what I want my perfect day to look like. It doesn't have to be perfect every day, but what are those things that I want to make sure I do every day? Is it meditating? Is it exercise? Is it making my calls? Is it that at the end of the day, even a bad day, even a day where you just felt like being in your pajamas until noon, all right, you got back on the horse at noon and you decided to do those 2 or 3 things that make you have that sense of accomplishment, that you can celebrate what that plan is. So instead of just having a goal, we also want to have a little bit of a plan, and your perfect day can change day by day on what you've got going on. And so there's some different philosophies on that as well. So I wanted to talk to you about this little 6-minute business plan, because it kind of gives some people, if you like, hey, I don't really know what my minimum would be for me to be successful. So I'm just going to show this to you really quickly, because I thought it might help from a business perspective. And then you can fill in the other spaces around that for what you need to do with your personal business as well. So this is, I put this together, and I'm not sure if that's around the right number for your commission checks for Oklahoma City, but I just want to put that together. Your financial goal for 2020, for example, and again, I know we're way past the halfway point of, we're already in September, but just so you can kind of just get the numbers. You can do it for the next 12 months. You can do the math any way you want. But I do these numbers because it makes it a little easier math for me. If you want to make $200,000 and then you want to divide your income by your average commission check, and so you've got 40 transactions. And then these are the kind of things that we look at for definitions. This is what a transaction looks like. An appointment is with a buyer or a seller. I believe you list a buyer as much as you list a seller. And then a lead is a ready, willing, and able buyer or seller who's going to make a move in the next 6 months, that they are prepared. I think a prospect is somebody who's thinking about it. We might do something in 2 years when little Johnny graduates from high school. But a lead is somebody who's ready to do something in the next 6 months. I do know realtors that say, hey, I consider a lead somebody who's going to move in the next 12 months. And I know other realtors that say, no, I only want to work with people that are going to do something in the next 90 days. So you can set that parameter yourself, but this is how my definitions when we're talking about leads, that's what we're going to use for that business plan. If you are looking at these kinds of goals, if you're going to do 40 transactions, and some of you, your conversion rates are going to be much higher than this, but this is just a starting place, just to give you guys some math to work with this a little bit and sort of see what are my minimums of what I need to get done. 80 appointments will translate to 40 transactions, and then 400 leads to meet your appointment goal. And again, we know what a lead is, so figuring out that's in a course of a year and then transferring that. If you are taking a 52-week year, and again, you can do it from today and go 52 weeks from today, and you take 12 weeks out of your business for vacation, for business plannings, for conventions, for education. I heard education twice. Helen, JT, Monty, you were all talking about education. And so like taking time out, taking a day, doing a virtual conference. I mean, eventually someday we'll be able to go to conferences again. I'm sure they'll look differently in the future, but they will be happening. And so having those kinds of times where you can block off that time and know that this is sort of my week to spend working on my business, but I'm not in my business. Your 40 weeks of working on your business, I believe a week that you work is a week that you're lead generating. So there's a lot of realtors I know that take that week of Thanksgiving and they're like, well, I'm working. And well, they're checking email and they're answering their phone calls. They're being responsive, but they're not actively lead generating. I would almost take that week as a business planning. Yes, you're available. You could meet for a listing appointment if somebody called you, but you're not actively working on your business. There are some realtors that take the entire month of January as their business planning month, and then get started in February. But that's really, as I consider those definitions for weeks out of your business versus weeks in your business. If you're really looking at your weekly goals and you're breaking those 40 transactions by 40 weeks, and then your 80 appointments by 40 weeks, that's 2 appointments a week. That's 10 leads a week. That's 2 per day. So if you want to change those numbers and say, hey, you know what? I don't need to make 200,000. I need to make 100,000. Then you only need 1 lead a day. And how many phone calls is it going to take you to get either your 10 leads or your 5 leads or however many leads a week you need to schedule an appointment? And you'll know that number, but then you'll be able to track that and have that as, this is my minimum that I need to do on an average day or an average week to make it happen. And that's your business plan. Ta-da! So, and I have it written out also, Courtney, I'm going to send you a bunch of things you can send out to everybody. Does anybody have any questions about the 6-minute business plan? Helen, do you see anything?
I don't have any questions yet, so I think they fainted.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Either that or they're all on their calculators going, hey, I could do this.
I can do this. Yeah, it actually, when you start thinking about like how many leads a day, right? Again, there are so many different ways to lead generate right now. There are agents right now that have gone silent. And so the ones that are working are getting a lot of business. And they're having an opportunity to connect with people in a different way.
Yes. And, and it's funny because, well, actually, mostly it's because the MLS fees are due right now. But I'm hearing both sides of the picture on how busy people are. I've had one realtor tell me she hasn't been able to sell anything since March because of the pandemic. And then we just featured it in the newspaper actually, but we had a new member sign up in March. And he has sold, if I'm remembering correctly, over $700,000 in real estate since March, and his brand spanking new. So it's a real range there. And so, and perhaps we should ask people this is just because I'm being nosy and curious myself, but what keeps you going? What keeps you persistent? Because it is difficult making cold calls or following up on leads and things like that. So what keeps you going and what keeps you motivated? Yeah. Someone said it's hard because leads are not always meeting your dollar goals sometimes. We've got people who want to be in the book drawing. We've got one of our OKCMAR board members, Kimmy. She says she works by referral only. And Kimmy, you've probably told me before, I don't remember how long you've been in the business, but that certainly works for some people. And, you know, how do you get to that point? One of our new board members says she still has college to pay for.
Yeah, me too. I'm here, yeah.
Kimmy's been in it 22 years and she's working referral only. So how much of your business is that? I know we have one of our members who says he is now selling homes to the grandchildren of people he initially sold homes to. So now you've become the family realtor. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's, I mean, I think a lot of realtors do a lot of business from referrals, right? And part of the reason how you get referrals is by staying in touch. And I think one of the things about the pandemic and frankly, Zoom meetings and people seeing things like my baseball hats up on the wall is we've become very human. We've become very understanding. We've become more patient with each other. And so I think it's a huge opportunity to call through your database, friends, family members, past clients, people if you have their phone not in your phone book or if you have their number in your phone, call them. Like, hey, people are anxious. It's just like I said, there's a little bit of that anxiety out there. And if you can be the like voice of reason or say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your largest financial asset and just give you peace of mind or information on what's happening with your largest financial asset, which, oh, by the way, is your house. There is, and I didn't mean to do a plug for this, but I will, and I'll send you that info as well as I'm adding to my list here. There's a tool that's called HomeBot, and it's a once a month email that goes out to your clients that is like a financial dashboard for your home. You know, we get information every month on our other investments, but we don't get a monthly report on our largest financial asset, which is our home. And then it gives you a reason to call people and say, hey, did you get a chance to look at that? Let's talk, right? I want to be your financial advisor on your largest financial asset, right? And so those are really interesting conversations, but people want to know. I mean, I think the reason that we get house the market as much as we do is because people understand at some level how important their home is to their long-term financial wealth. And so I think people would love to hear from you and say, one, just want to check in. How are you doing with, you know, the pandemic? How are you doing with your health? How are you doing if they have kids? How are you doing with homeschooling? You know, if they're elderly, how are you doing getting items? Do you need me to run to the store? I know some teenagers that are running errands for people. Happy to connect you. I think this is this time where we can be exceedingly human with each other. And then it naturally gets to, hey, I also want to update you around what's happening in your neighborhood with your home, and just want to see if we could schedule some time to talk about that, right? And it doesn't mean that you're pestering people, it means that you're providing value. And I think that that's one thing like Monty's quote is, right? The absence of value, it's about money. If you are now being looked upon as their financial advisor on this incredible asset of their home, that's a pretty powerful place to be. And I think that that can definitely help with that by referral only, because people are like, oh, you got to talk to, not my realtor's not just my realtor, they're my financial advisor on what's happening with my house, right? And so that's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
And, you know, one great thing to reach out about, Katie, I think because of this pandemic, we've been talking about with our media company, is people's housing needs are changing. You know, people perhaps now need, perhaps I now need a virtual schoolroom, a home office, which is preferably not the same place as the virtual schoolroom. And we also had a conversation up here about, you know, are people wanting now to move closer to elderly parents to help take care of them? Are people, you know, now, have they got different housing needs than they anticipated when they, you know, used your champagne on, New Year's Eve last year? You know, things have really shifted in a way people didn't expect. So perhaps people will be looking for a different home, right, because they're going to have to accommodate different things. Right. So that's a great way to reach out to people.
Yeah, I've actually seen that a couple of times on social media. I've seen realtors post, you know, is the home that you're in right now your perfect home, your dream home? And a lot of people are saying, heck no, right? Or some people are saying, well, it's almost there. So maybe even if they're not moving, you can connect them to a great contractor because maybe they want an upgrade or they want to do an add-on. But a lot of people are like, wow, this is way too much space, right? Empty nesters are like, wow, we don't need this much space for just the two of us, even when we're both working from home. And the inverse, like you said, like, oh my gosh, we not only need, we need a whole separate building for, I want to have a separate building, and I want to have space for my office to be away from the house, even if we're still on the same property. So there's lots of different things to do around that. And so if we talk about, and this is a chapter called, if you erase it, replace it. And this is really around the idea of, if you know what your weekly goals are, and if my weekly goals is 10, I'm just going to use the 10 new leads a week, right? And I need to schedule that time on my weekly calendar. And my calendar does look like this. It's actually on Outlook, but I do color code my calendar. I have for a very long time. I was trained at ADP, the payroll and HR company. And so they have a very intensive sales training program that I learned in the mid 90s, and it still works for me today. So it helps me align, okay, what am I doing for research time? What am I doing for some strategy? What am I doing for lead generation? Where do I want to have my appointments? And scheduling those things. When I was managing a real estate office, I was doing recruiting appointments. That's obviously how real estate companies grow. So I was doing around 8 recruiting appointments a week, and I would put those things on my schedule and have my time for lead generation on top of that as well. But the beauty of, if you erase it, replace it, is that the calendar is yours. So if you've dedicated, hey, I'm going to get up early in the morning and do all my social media postings before the kids are up, and I'm going to clean out all my email, and everything's going to be basically done by 8 o'clock in the morning as far as administrative, maybe a lead generation time, following up on emails, and then I'm going to spend the morning working on the Zoom classroom, or I'm going to spend the morning researching information, or learning a new tool, or doing, like I talked about, designation classes. These are these things that I'm going to be doing in the morning. And then the afternoon, while the kids are doing their homework, that's when I'm going to go and spend an hour just hitting the phones. But you can move it around. That it's your calendar, so you can change it. I think realtors a lot of times become very responsive to the client. And so when a client calls or they're making the dials that, oh, you know what, we are thinking about selling our house, realtors often start off with, well, when are you available? And instead of saying, these are my appointment slots, I have time to meet with you Wednesday at noon or Thursday at 4, what works better for you? Right? This is a huge financial decision. People take time out of work to go get their haircut. They can take time out of work to meet with you about this huge financial decision, which is selling their home. And some people can't, so you can be flexible on that. But what happens a lot of times with realtors is they hand over control of the process in the very beginning. And so it's just a cautionary tale with everything else going on. You having to control over your time and making a decision based on what works for you versus what works for them is important. And it helps create some appropriate boundaries, I think, as well. These are all these kind of different things. We've got to work our magic. These all take time. So you want to put those things onto your calendar. This is the kind of thing people say, what do I need to time block? I kind of get the concept. If I put these things on my calendar, what does it look like? So you time block, number one, your time off. I know it sounds weird, but there's something around the day before vacation syndrome. So blocking off the time that you're going to stop work every day. Maybe you're going to do an online Peloton class that starts at 4 o'clock, and you want to be ready to be on that live Peloton class. Maybe it's that time off that you're going to be working with your kids on their classroom. Maybe it's that time off where you're going to go help an elderly neighbor, and you know that every Monday at 10 o'clock, you're going to be booked to do these things with a neighbor. Whatever that time is, block it. I think you had mentioned, somebody said they had finally took a day off on Labor Day. Guys, you have to take at least one full day off every week. And off means you maybe check your phone twice. So you just limit the amount of time that you are working. If not, completely turn it off and just say, I'm unavailable today. I do know some realtors that leave voicemail messages that say, any calls left after 7 p.m. will be returned the next business day. And so then you can respond an extra if you want to, but the standard has been set. The second thing to time block is lead generation time. And lead generation is both passive and active. Passive is like marketing, social media, postcards, things that are one directional. And active lead generation is voice to voice, face to face. Whether you're going to be, maybe you're going to host an event online, you're making your calls, instant messaging where there's conversation back and forth is active lead generation. And then putting time on your calendar for when you want to have those appointments. Like my ideal time on my calendar would be to do appointments on this day and that day. Hey, I know my spouse always works from home on Tuesdays. So Tuesdays would be my best possible day to do listing appointments. If something comes up, can you move it? Of course. But the idea is that if you take it off Tuesday, you move it to someplace else on your calendar. And then also I'm a big fan of creating some white space time, especially with us all in the same house, under the same roof and everything happening. It's good to go for a walk, get outside, go sit someplace quiet, take a little notepad and write down some things to do some planning. And this is, really making sure that you have that time to take a day off. It's really, really crucial to do that. Oh, sorry, I had talked about all these things and I forgot they were on the next slide. So we talked about lead generation time. And then this is what my, a version of the perfect week for a real estate agent. Courtney, do you want me to send that to you as well? Okay, making my list here. So I can get that to you. And again, you can move these things around. You can change them any way you want. You can make these things work for you. I mean, I have go to the gym. That's obviously dated because, well, I don't know if you guys can go to the gym. We can't here, but I don't know if you guys are able to go to the gym here. So everything on your calendar is an appointment. Nobody has to know what your appointment is. This is a boat, obviously. One of the friends of mine, when I first got into selling real estate and my kids were really little, she was really, really passionate about saying, hey, look, something is an appointment. It may be going to your daughter's ballet lesson. It could be going to your son's soccer game. It could be going, to something with your kids or your family. Nobody has to know what it is. You just say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't meet with you on 3 o'clock on Saturday. I have an appointment. Nobody has to know what that is. My friend actually is a realtor in San Diego, and she bought a boat, and the name of her boat is An Appointment. So when somebody says, oh, can you meet Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock? Oh, I'm so sorry, I'll be on an appointment, which technically she is. It's the name of her boat. So she really liked that. That was, sort of like calling, I guess it's a bar in Cabo. It's called The Office, right? Sort of along the same lines, right? So that it's an appointment, but just that this is your time. You get to choose how you spend it, and letting other people know that you're busy and you're professional and that you have time and things that need to get done for your calendar. This is luck is when opportunity meets preparedness is a chapter that I wrote about when I lived in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for about 3.5 years. And I was a pharmaceutical sales rep when I was there. And the lady who interviewed me said something to me that luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. And I think that is really true. And I think that there's, opportunities around what you're doing to make things happen. I'm Irish Italian, I'm Catholic. This is my first communion picture from when I was 7. So I actually posted it on Facebook that I was using it in a presentation. The story is that I started door knocking when I was 6 years old. Part of the thing going to Catholic school is you learn to fundraise at a very young age. So we would have candy bar sales when I was in elementary school, and I was 6 and 7 years old, door knocking in the neighborhoods, selling candy bars. And so I learned how to door knock very, very, very early, and was very comfortable doing it. When I started selling real estate, one of my dad's neighbors, I knocked on the door and she said, what are you selling now, Katie? So it was used to me knocking on the doors. And knocking on doors was how I actually had the opportunity to have this pharmaceutical sales opportunity in Hawaii. I was door knocking an office building, and I was selling copiers in Honolulu where you couldn't pronounce the street name. So that's a conversation for a different day. But I was selling these copiers, and I was door knocking to see if any businesses needed a new copier or a fax machine. This is how long ago that was. And I door knocked a company that was a placement company. They were a leadership and sales placement company. And the guy said to me, you don't see people door knocking much anymore. And I was like, well, that's just how I was trained. And, you know, it's a way for me to get out and talk to people. And so he's like, you know, you might really enjoy doing pharmaceutical sales. And that happened. So in telling that story to the manager when I was interviewing with her, and I said, oh, I just got lucky that I knocked on that door. And she said, no, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. And so by doing some of these things on your calendar, by making these sort of daily wins that you can celebrate, these little wins of the activities that you're doing, you will be in a place where opportunities will present themselves and you're going to be ready. And it's like, oh, I just got lucky. Well, kind of the more you work, the luckier you get. And so it's an opportunity to create those kinds of things together. And here's the other thing around opportunities. And so I think I hear this a lot with realtors that are, I think, Helen, you touched on it, that like there's some, there's some agents that haven't sold anything since March. And I think some of that's headspace. And there's some, and I love the new agent who's selling like crazy because he or she doesn't know any different. They don't know any different. This is just this is what they walked into. Oh, this is how we sell. They don't know. And so one of the things I think is really valuable is being aware that change creates opportunity. So, right, if luck is when opportunity meets preparedness, how do we create opportunity? And I think there's a huge option there to create some opportunity for ourselves. This is, yeah, that's me as the Hulk. If you see this, I had this done at a convention. So that was just kind of fun. And here's the thing around creating opportunity, right? COVID didn't happen to you. It just happened. The recession in 2008 didn't happen to you. It happened, right? The social unrest, it's an election year. These things are happening, right? This is change. There's a lot of change happening right now. A lot of things that are different. What opportunities is that creating for you? What opportunities is this creating for your buyers and sellers? And so you have to know, like, okay, like Helen was talking about, people are looking at their homes differently, right? That's an opportunity, right? Like, hey, you know, let's talk about what your dream home would look like. And then if you're out paying attention to the market and you're looking at properties and you're going to call that client back and say, hey, remember that dream property you talked about? I just saw it. It just came on the market, or somebody in my office has got it and it's about to go on the market in 2 days. I'd love to get you, previewing it before, it gets on there, or however your MLS rules work. So don't quote me on whatever your rules are on that. But it's important to say, hey, I want to create some opportunities. And is it, hey, you know what, with interest rates being ridiculously low, why are people renting? Why, hey, have you thought about investing in real estate? Right? Is this the opportunity to invest in real estate as things are changing? With interest rates being really, really low, what can you buy now as an investor for long-term financial stability? But these are the kinds of conversations that would be great for you to brainstorm as a group as well. What are the opportunities in this market? Every single real estate market has an opportunity for someone. Who? How is it going to be for you? How is it going to be for your clients? We talked about buyers and sellers and investors and business planning, right? What is the opportunity now that maybe you can create a little bit more time to really hone in on what's your business plan? What are your areas you need to work on? What are some of those designations, classes that I really want to be a part of to really take me to the next level? What is that class I've always wanted to take, or a leadership thing online that I've always wanted to attend, but I didn't want to have to fly somewhere? Well, now I can do it. Like, now you can get exposed to thought leaders that you hadn't been exposed to before. Maybe you're going to hire a coach. Maybe you're going to participate in a mastermind. I don't know what the opportunities are for you personally and professionally. There's also, and I talked about this before, huge, huge opportunity to connect with your clients, right? At a human level. Because people are answering the phone, because people want to connect with other people, because it's like, oh my gosh, all I ever talk to is people. I need to talk to other people. Exposure. So to take the opportunity to connect with people as human beings and ask them those kinds of questions about the dream house, or just how you doing. I think realtors forget how well connected we are sometimes. We know a ton of people. So if somebody, hey, right now, what is your greatest need? Man, I wish I had knew somebody that could help my kid with algebra. I can't even spell algebra, let alone try to help my kid. I know teenagers and young adults in their early 20s that are virtual tutors for kids, right? That like, oh, hey, I think I may know somebody, or I know somebody knows somebody. You guys can connect and be that extra value for people. Let's see, how much time do I got left? We got 20 minutes? 20, right? Or Courtney, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think we're good.
20 minutes? I can do it. I can do this quick if it needs to be less than that. So when we talk about connecting with clients, any other questions? I'll stop here for a second. Helen or Courtney, any questions coming in or any comments?
I don't see any, but I think everyone's getting some good ideas that they're writing down.
Okay.
Writing down good ideas. They're not chatting.
Okay.
They're being inspired.
All right. Well, when we talk about connecting with clients, part of the things around connecting with people is connecting with them where they are. And we talked about Da Vinci, of the joy and understanding. And the DISC profile, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the DISC behavioral profile. It's used inside of real estate, outside of real estate. There's lots and lots of companies out there that use the DISC behavioral profile. DISC is an acronym. D stands for driver, I is for influencer, S is systematic, and C is for compliant. All of us have some of these 4 components. We all do. Most people have 2 or sometimes 3, but usually 2 things that are like what we call higher than 50%, right? If you're going to kind of what we say, you've got a really high D or high C, that means it's something that's probably it's higher than 50%. If everything is 0 to 100, what does that look like? And what I love about DISC is DISC tells you this is just how you're hardwired. This is just sort of how God made you. And it's not better or worse than anybody else. It's just different, right? Like hey, there's lots of different types of flowers out there. Of course, there'd be lots of different types of personalities and behavioral styles. It does not account for intelligence, and it does not account for morality. So it's just sort of how you're hardwired. If you haven't taken the DISC test, there's lots of places you can go online to do that. But it just says, this is just who you are. It doesn't necessarily give you a license to say, well, I'm just that way, so take me or leave me. No, because you're smart people and you can adapt and make behavioral decisions based on your intellect and being a good person. But it doesn't go, okay, to wear bright pink jackets, or I have a tendency to make sure that the flyer is perfect before it goes out into the marketplace. So it's okay, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that understanding yourself, that you are good enough just how you were made. If you don't know your DISC style, we're going to kind of do a quick thing for you to, we're going to end up drawing like a 4 quadrants. So we'll do the horizontal line. So if you have ask at one side and tell on the other side of the line, how do you assert yourself? Are you more of an ask person or more of a tell person? The best way for me to define this, I think I watch a lot of Law and Order reruns. The police officers tend to ask a lot of questions. Where were you? Who were you with? What's happening? Those kinds of things of ask. The tell people are more like the judges. Yes, no, you're doing this, you're not doing that. And so the ask versus tell, and figuring that out there. The vertical line is, what do you do when you first get started to work? Are you more focused on task, or are you more focused on the people? It doesn't mean if you're task focused, you don't like people. It doesn't mean if you like people first, you never get anything done. It just means sort of where do you fall on the quadrant. So it should look somewhere like this. The top left is conscientious or compliant for the C. The D is dominance, the I influence, and the S is steadiness. So most people fall somewhere. They have 1 or 2 of these as like their higher ends of this spectrum. I am going to send you, Courtney, a list of like DISC behavioral styles so people can have that as well. So it's a summary of different things that I'll talk about here just very quickly. So what I'd like to do around this, around communicating with your clients around their DISC profile, is if you sort of know where you are on this scale, hey, I'm more of an S, I'm more of a D, I'm more of a C, knowing that and who you are, I'm going to also work on what else you can do to help you with communicating with other people out there in the marketplace, all right? So what I want to do is we're going to use doctors as an example. So, and because we're gonna assume all the doctors I'm talking about today are of high intellect and of high moral quality. So a high D person is a driver, and they are like an emergency room doctor. So an emergency room doctor is like, stop the bleeding. We got to stop the bleeding. We got to move things forward. We've got to task and tell. They are focused on getting it done, move, move, move. These are the people in a listing presentation that when you're 3 pages into your listing presentation, they suddenly go, okay, great, what's next? Then you stop. Stop everything and slide over the listing agreement because they're ready. D's, because they are so focused on speed and results, that if you continue on the rest of your listing presentation, you will lose them. But if these people is their favorite question, then if you take care of it right then, they're happy that you can align with them. You might not naturally be a D. You might naturally be more of like, let's go over everything to make sure that every box is checked, and say, but just get the listing agreement signed. And then if you need to have that as a second meeting, then you do that as a second meeting. Hey, I want to go over some of these other things, or I'm going to email you over our step-by-step process, so that they have it. But that time they're ready to go and keep the process moving. High Ds are about 7% of the population in the United States. And they tend to wear dark colors. They tend to say what, and they tend to have a personality. You can tell D's a while off because D's come in a little bit like a freight train. But what is really important to them is speed and results. So if you can match those things for speed and results, you're going to do great. And just kind of sometimes you tell a D, hey, I got this. I got this. You go do your job, I'll do mine. Oh, that sounds rude. Like, no, it's telling them that you've got control of the results. You are going to take care of it. And that way they don't have to worry about it because they're focused on results. All right. The high I's, I really think is a pediatrician, people that are super high expressive. They're influential. They tend to wear bright colors. I'm a very high I. I'm also going to be a very high D. But high I's are about 11% of the population. And they have never met a stranger. A high I is very focused on people. They like to tell you. You will never, ever, ever have to ask a high I, how was your weekend? Because they will tell you. They are very expressive, very, very positive. They are the fun factor. So if you have a committee, you want to have at least one person on the committee be a high I that's going to make sure that your events and your things that you're working together have fun factor to them, and create some of that fun and excitement that's going to be there. High I's, their favorite question is who, because they want to know who's going to be at the next party. And high I's have never actually met a stranger. My mother used to tell me that I wouldn't be kidnapped. I would go willingly, because I'm such a people person, and very highly expressive. Any questions? Courtney, you see any questions in the question box?
No questions at the moment.
Okay, perfect. High S's. High S's are about 69% of the population. They are what you hear on TV or you hear people say. People are usually high S's. So high S's will tend to be very focused on the team. I really think of them as general surgeons, right? So high S is somebody who has their team. We've been doing an appendectomy this way for 10 years. I don't like a lot of change. I don't want to upset my teammates. We're steady. We've got this happening. They're phenomenal listeners. High S's on a team, you will see them listening, nodding, taking notes. They are not going to interject as often. If you are in a team like that, the high S's are observing everything. So you want to make sure that their input is heard. They're not naturally going to say something because they don't want to disrupt the team, but they have observed and defined everything that's going on and can often have incredible perspective. But sometimes they need to be asked. Not always, but sometimes they need to be asked. If you are a high S, your opinion is valuable and important to the team. And so please speak up, because those of us that are moving too fast to pay attention to some things that might be rocking the boat, the high S's will help add a level of stability that's really, really important, and move those things forward. All right. The last group is the high C's. or we call it the analyticals or the compliance. They are like a brain surgeon. It is black and white. There is a right way and a wrong way to do brain surgery. It is more about slow and steady, wins the race. Accuracy is more important than speed. So I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there are, literal rocket scientists that are in this area. And I remember doing a listing. One of my clients was an actual rocket scientist, and he read every single page of the contract and every single page of the disclosures. And he would call me and ask me questions. Now, I am not super detail oriented. So I would say to him, Steve, this is what I think it means, but let me check with my office counsel and get you the correct answer tomorrow morning. Is that okay? He always said yes. He was like, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, if you could find out exactly the right answer or confirm that that's what you think, by talking to your attorney, that will be better, right? Because it's more about accuracy than speed. He didn't need it right that minute. I'm somebody who likes speed, but I had to learn to no, I don't have to go run around and find out exactly this answer to this detailed legal question. I can actually wait and get it to him tomorrow because it's more for him about accuracy than getting it right now. That's more of what's happened to him. That's why I put this picture in black and white, because literally that's how they think. High Cs cannot make decisions without data. So these are those clients that are constantly asking for more information, and it makes them feel safe. So if you tell them, oh, you don't need to know about that, that's instantly going to turn them off. That makes them feel unsafe, and they won't be able to make a decision in a place of fear. So we want to make sure that you're creating an environment for high Cs to have enough information to help them make a good decision. All right, fair enough? All right, so here's the quiz. Everybody ready for a quiz? This is the quiz. So Courtney, if you can come off mute and you can read the chat box for me.
Cool.
All right, so we're gonna do, I say, a driver, influencer, systematic, or compliant, a D, I, S, or C. So Schroeder is a musician. Is he a D, an I, an S, or a C? Any comments? Any guesses?
No comments yet.
Driver, influencer, systematic, or compliant?
Probably C.
I see. Yep, absolutely. He's like musicians tend to be very detail oriented, right? There's a right way to play Beethoven, right? So you're going to be very black and white. Lucy tells you where to go and how to get there. So does anybody know what she is?
D.
Yeah. So again, you can see drivers a mile off, right? So Charlie Brown takes care of everybody. You're a good man, Charlie Brown, right? And just make sure everybody's doing well. What is it? We got 2 left.
We've got an S.
Yes, yes, he's totally an S. He's not going to rock the boat. He's a good guy. He's reliable. Snoopy literally dances on tops of buildings. Everything is a party. So that just makes him a high I, right? So he's definitely adding the fun factor and doing that. So this is a slide that people laugh when I put this up. So take a minute to look at this slide if you can. This is how we think we're doing versus how we're actually doing. So I'll just tell you a story. My DISC style is I'm a high D, high I. So I said, my idea as a team is everybody doing what I like. So it's, I'm the Lucy with the Snoopy component. And when I was running a real estate office, we were jamming, we were recruiting, we were profitable, we were growing. This was just, coming through the recession, there was all this stuff going on. And I was like, yeah, we're killing it. I'm killing it. We're hitting all these numbers. My assistant manager came into my office and he came in and I kind of looked at him like, did you have an appointment? Like, come on, we're busy. We got stuff happening. And he sat down and he looked at me and he said, Katie, I love you. I was like, oh no. How bad is it? He's like, well, the office is doing really well. We're making money. We're hitting all of these goals, but you're always behind a closed door. You're either on the phone or in a meeting. The staff hasn't seen you in like a week. The agents who you hired want to have time with you, but your office door is always closed. And when you're out of the office, you're walking through the office so fast that nobody wants to get in your way. And he was right. I thought I was rocking the plank. In actuality, I was the drowning elephant. But my natural style made me think I'm killing it. And so having people around you and being vulnerable enough to say, hey, sometimes when I get focused, I'm a bit of a freight train. So pull me back and help me get perspective, because I don't want to run people over. That's not my thing. And I need to know when I'm going down that path too far and get pulled back and get some perspective. Part of this is around ourselves, but I think there's a lot of times that people, when we're communicating with people and interacting with people, it's like, oh, somebody's like, oh man, they're always just so focused. They might not realize that they're running people over. They may not realize that they're, too focused on the details. They may not realize that everything's that they're being perceived as everything's a party. And I need you to come and get a little bit more serious. So having that perspective with yourself, it's also valuable to have that perspective with other people, whether it's clients, whether it's other agents. So whether it's family members, having some perspective, I think can be really valuable. And what's nice, I think I like about the DISC profile is it takes sort of the blame out of it. Like it's not personal. It's just how somebody's hardwired. And they may not even be aware that this is what's happening. Maybe no one's ever told them. And so you can create some real value by helping them see some things or get some perspective on their self, which I think is really cool when you can get some self-reflection. I think we all enjoy a little bit of that piece as well. So how did that go there? Oh, sorry. It's a piece there. So basically we covered a lot of different things. We covered about celebrating little wins. Ta-da! We talked about time blocking, some of those things, if you're going to use a 6-minute business plan or not, but time blocking those things, the little things, the big things that you want to accomplish on a day or a weekly basis, to make sure that you can celebrate something every day, but also to have that sense of accomplishment. That yes, okay, how do I know if I had a good day? I had a good day if I do these 3 things. Awesome. Have a great day if I do 4 things. Woo! Right? And then celebrate those successes, because it's really important, not only for our mental health, but also for momentum. And as we talked about, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness, and creating those opportunities for yourself, for your clients, for your business, that can really be valuable as you're connecting with people. And if you're understanding a little bit about your own behavioral style, as well as your clients and everyone you're interacting with behavioral style, it just makes that connection and that understanding that much better. So, and I think, I know that you guys are putting in, if you would like a copy of the book, Courtney, when I send over information, I'll also send information on contacting me, and I can send you an autograph. I can also do autograph books as well and send you the information on that, and go from there. Okay. So any questions, comments?
No questions, really. I definitely did want to mention, that the book giveaway will be autographed copies. So you guys be sure to send an email to events@okmar.org to get in on the drawing.
Great.
But I think I'm not seeing any comments.
All right. Perfect. Well, I will send out my information to Courtney as well. So if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to send me an email. I really appreciate everybody's time being on the call, and look forward to maybe doing this again sometime.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Thank you, Katie.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for coming, and congratulations to our election winners. And thank you for joining us today.